on the docket for today, back, shoulders, back at the rec gym. Nobody's here, so sounds like you guys will be getting no mic. Call it good there. Just matching reps. Using up both sides because there's nobody here. And this gets in the way of me doing it this way and then just flipping over and doing it this way. So I end up having to kind of lean against this, but oh well. Realized last time, about halfway through, that my mic wasn't on. Went back, checked the footage. Turns out, no audio. That sucks. So, I have learned from that. I thought about just using the phone audio. If you're watching this, the clip right before it did not sound good. You can hear the fans, you can hear these jingling all around, you can hear everything in the room. So sticking to the mics. Mics don't sound great. I'll upgrade at some point if this deems it. But couple things I talked about last video that I want to get to in this one because they weren't on the mic. Resistance profile. Yep, took so long that I flipped sides. That's how long it took to remember a word. Resistance profiles. So I kind of talked about this with deltoids last back day, I'm pretty sure. Dumbbells, right? Most resistance gonna be out here because the weight is pulling straight down, right? The path of resistance, right, is straight down, so it's perpendicular here. When the path of the weight is perpendicular to whatever limb you're moving, that's when it's going to be hardest. So when I'm doing dumbbell lateral raises, it's going to be hardest right here. I'm doing these, it's going to be hardest down here, right? And then I'm going to come up and it's going to get easier. I think it's a good idea to mess around with resistance profiles, right? This would be heaviest at the bottom, heaviest in the stretch position. I think that's in my opinion, that's what I prefer for deltoids, but I also do dumbbells. I do both. Now, there's some situations where I would stick to one. For example, bench press, right? If I'm doing bench, I'm doing it for my chest, not my triceps, right? At the bottom, that's when your chest is going to be most involved. At the top, that's when your triceps are going to be most involved. So if I'm doing it on a machine or I'm doing set up on a cable, I want the most resistance to be back here. And as I come up, I want there to be less resistance, which is why a lot of people don't like the hammer presses where they kind of arc up because it makes it heaviest at the top, which works more triceps, front delt, and it kind of changes your arm path from you're pushing this way to you're pushing this way. I've done them, I've programmed them, I like them, but doing 3 plates on a hammer press is, was one of my gym goals at one point. Finally got there, so cleaned my hands of that. Ah. Whew. So for every inch of that, cuff slipped off. Luckily, I was already done with my set, but I've got to get some like new cuffs just for me. The ones at the gym are not cutting it lately. Woo. Matched reps there. Whew. That was good. All right. Hit some shoulders. Gonna go ahead and move on to back. Excuse me. Not sure what to do here because back, not a whole lot to do with back here. All right. We've got the one machine. I mean, we've got dumbbells and free weights, but no, you'll see what I end up doing. All right. So, ended up deciding going back to a lat pull down. Probably gonna do two lat exercises today. So usually, as a rule of thumb, if I do two lat exercises, I'm not gonna do my rear delt because they both function the same. Elbow extension. Um, Probably gonna end up trying to do a Kelso somehow, somewhere, some way. We'll see. No promises, but I'm gonna give it a shot. Um, Another thing I talked about last time, but didn't make the cut was uh gym fits, man. Gym fits. You guys have, if you guys have seen my last few videos, you know I usually rock a $10 Walmart t-shirt that I got a few years ago and just only wear to the gym now. And then I wear some Target shorts that I get on clearance. And I think, personally, I think that's the way to roll, right? I don't think you need to buy a $70 Onyx shirt from wherever. I think consumerism in general, I think, is a big issue in gym culture because there's so many influencers that are trying to get you to buy their stuff. Um, I'd err against it, you know. If you are going to be spending a buttload of money on clothes and equipment and stuff, make sure this is going to be something you actually do. You know, you're not just throwing away money, right? Make sure you're coming in here. I'd say at least 6 months before you spend more than $30 on something gym wise, but that's just me. I'm not the boss. You know, as the great Deion Sanders once said, you know, you look good, you feel good. Feel good, play good. You play good, you pay. Yep, mess that up. You get the idea. If you like wearing your Gymshark equipment, you like having your Echo Vision cuffs, you like having whatever, go ahead, man. It's only gonna help, yeah. I'm just saying, don't feel the need to spend all your money on stuff you don't need. Um, I think your clothes should be comfortable. I think is the big thing. I think not a bad idea to throw on a pump cover, right, for at least those first few sets. You know, I personally, I run hot, so once I'm warmed up over there, I'm good. I don't need any to get any warmer. But if you're somebody who struggles with, you know, injury or something like that, and you just need that extra bit to stay warm, maybe you just run a little colder, go ahead, man. Throw a pump cover on. I think that's something that's functional, makes sense, something I would do if I were in that situation. But you know, spend what's reasonable, right? Ooh, we'll call her good there. I like to leave a rep, or maybe not go to failure on my first set, but on the second set, I do like to leave nothing or go to failure. What was I talking about? Gym equipment, man. Tell you what, I got for Christmas I got uh Village Hidden in Iron one year. I think it was last year. I got all. So I've got a belt. I've got the wrist wraps, which I use different ones now because those things were freaking huge. I got, you guys have seen those fire ones. I don't know what that's from, but got those fire ones that I use for some stuff versus I use these Cobra grips knockoff Versas. Those Versa grips are like $70. Not a shot. These were like 40. And honestly, I might move over to getting Gym Optimizer. They've got like a really simple one that I've heard good things about, but they're charging like $35. It's like a piece of nylon, so I'm kind of like, do I really want? I have these. These do the trick, so I don't think I'm gonna end up doing that. Um, but what I might get is some not wrist wraps, cuffs. I might give some cuffs because cuffs they got here like to slip off while I'm doing something, while I'm doing push downs or while I'm doing those lateral raises, whatever. And that is not something you want. You don't want to be losing focus mid set. Focus is really important, I think. That is one of your best tools against injury and to make sure you're giving it your all. Because, I mean, if I'm not focused, I could probably lose 2 reps if I'm not focused on what I'm doing, right? That's why I like to get my headphones in, get my music on, right? Get in the right headspace, take my few breaths, right? And then start because I'm getting focused. I'm focusing on form because form breakdown can lead to injury. And I'm focusing on using the target muscle. Neural drive. I think that's a word that gets thrown around a lot. Uh, it's important, definitely, for sure it's important, but a lot of guys just chase something for the sake of neural drive. I don't think that's the way to roll. I don't think you should be like, ooh, I can feel this. Like, oh, I was thinking about doing some lat pullovers. I would love to be able to do some lat pullovers, but if I throw on, you know, I'd probably have to throw on the full stack and then throw like a couple plates on there. Even at my hefty weight, that's going to be weighing about as much as me. So I'm going to be trying to pull down from here, but I can't counterbalance it with my body weight. I'm not going to be able to load that as well. I mean, I'm going to be focused on, oh, I'm getting pulled back. I got to pull myself back. And the more you can focus on just doing the movement, the better. Which I think is the argument for more stable uh, exercises. Part of the reason why they're generally better. Oh, there go the lights. Nope, no sensors. Ah, that is failure. Alright. So I was having issues. I couldn't record in video and listen to my music. So if the like screen is all of a sudden a little shorter, it's because I had to go to photo and then slide up to record so I could listen to music while doing my sets. Just fixed it. First time I think I've ever fixed anything by a soft reset on my phone. I think I always try a soft reset and it just doesn't do anything. So it's nice to finally get a win there. But on the docket now, I'm just gonna do my last set. I didn't film the first one because I was fixing that. Gonna do my last set of lateral raises with the dumbbells. Usually I'd start with dumbbells because I'm doing 2 arms at once. So I like to start with my bilateral 2 arms at once stuff and then move on to my unilateral because that's a good way to fight fatigue. So, but I also thought that I was going to come up with something a little more interesting than just dumbbells. I was going to try to figure out how to do a Y raise or something else, but it was either this or shoulder press, and I already did triceps yesterday, so just going to do this. Might move so that I do one leg day a week. Now, you might be thinking, you insane? Do you not want to grow your legs? Gonna be completely honest with you, not really. My butt is so big and my thighs are so thick. I can't wear jeans. I have a couple pairs that I can wear. That's it. One of them's like big and tall. I did special order them, right? My my legs have always been freaking huge, regardless of how much I've lifted. So backing off, taking one leg day, I think would be better. And I think what I'd end up doing is splitting up my last 2 days, put a leg day between them. That way I can let my triceps recover and actually hit a shoulder press on my back and shoulder days. We'll see. We'll see what I end up doing. Maybe I'll end up doing back days at my school gym, and I'll do a leg day here every now and again because I don't like recording at my school gym because that's people I know and it's always full. So, and I don't want to deal with people with like the recording rules in the gym. I don't know what's allowed, what's not. So, rather avoid the mess all in all. I'll look at getting a gym membership, maybe going to P-Fit. People dog on P-Fit, but hey man, that's the cheapest you can get a buttload of machines for. But you know what? I'm down for that. I'm not throwing great weights around or anything, so I'm not worried about the lunk alarm. All right, lock in. Nice thing about an empty gym is I'm just sitting here, feet spread out, camera right in front of me. Man, oh man, it's gonna suck when I have to go back to school and I can't do this anymore. This machine right here is great. Gosh, it is great. If you don't got a lot of space, you're trying to start a home gym or something, I highly suggest one of these row plus pull down combo machines. So what I've got myself set up here is just the unilateral sagittal latero. Fancy way of saying this. I'm doing this, and then I'm going to do this. As far as range of motion goes, for pretty much anything on my back, I go parallel with my torso, and that's it. I'm not gonna come all the way back here, right? Think about it. All your back muscles are attaching to your upper arm. If your upper arm goes past your back, well, they're not pulling you back anymore. If anything, they're pulling you in and forward. That's just a thought. No proof behind that, just a thought. But I do know, looking at strength-wise, you lose a lot of strength once you start going behind your back. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. Now, doing this unilateral, which means one arm at a time. Like I said earlier, it's a good way to fight fatigue. If you've ever heard of the bilateral force deficit, well, then you already know what I'm talking about. If you don't, give her a Google. Basically what it means, though, I'll give you the Cliff's Notes version, is that if I do 2 arms at a time, I'm not as strong as if I do 1 arm at a time, right? I don't mean that literally, right? Obviously, if I'm using 2 arms, I can do more weight. I'm saying, let's say I can do 200 pounds this way. If I do 1 arm, I can do 110, 120 of the same reps. Or if I'm doing 100 pounds, I can get more reps than I would. Why? Why is that? Well, because your brain sends signals to muscles. And the more muscles you involve, the less your brain can send signals to one muscle. So for example, if I'm doing bench press, right? I'm using both my pecs, I'm using both my triceps, right? Using both my anterior delts, right? To push, right? That's a total of 6 muscles, right? Versus if I were to do a single arm pec fly, that's 1, 2. That's it. Front delt and chest. Now, I don't throw a big hissy fit if I'm involving multiple muscles, right? Because what's the drawback with doing it this way? Well, now I have to do this arm, and then I have to do this arm. That's going to be more fatigue, right? So I don't want to start like that. Like I started with my lateral raises on the cables. So I did this arm, then this arm, then this arm, then this arm, right? That's essentially 4 sets that I started with, just doing shoulders. That's why I'd rather start with 2 at the same time and then move on to 1 at a time. Ooh, that was like 3.5 reps. You know what? Usually I'd go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. I'm gonna fix this. I've overestimated myself once again. Let's see how that goes. We'll play a little game of Goldilocks. Nine, call her good there. Call her good at 9. I'll up the weight. Aim for 6 on the other side this time. So, if you're like me, you might have this bad habit of thinking, oh, I gotta match reps on both sides. You don't have to, alright? If you mess up like I did, you do 3 reps, because I've never done this on this machine before. Go ahead and fix it for the other side. No need to mess yourself up. Not feeling great today. Not sure what's up with that. I got a leg day tomorrow. I might just change that to stretch and mobility. And then, well, if I do that, then I'll actually do cardio then too, because I won't have to worry about my legs. Yeah, sometimes it just happens, you know. There's nothing you can really do about it. And I mean, this is my first week back, so it's not crazy. I didn't do a good job of eating today. My sleep was spotty, right? So I've also got to take that into consideration. Basic setup here, right? Because I'm working lats, let me just switch over because I don't feel comfy. Because I'm doing lats, I'm not stretching my shoulder blade out. I'm doing this for lats. So I'm just letting my arm come straight, and then I'm pulling back. Let my arm come straight. No need to, move my shoulder around a whole lot. I mean, I'm not saying you gotta pin your shoulder back, right? I think you should let your scapula move freely. Your scapula, your shoulder blade. Just let it move freely for the most part, but I'm not reaching forward or anything. Because that's the traps that do that, right? They're what pull your shoulder back. If this were a regular old row or upper back row, or if I were doing Kelsos, right? Obviously, yeah, any of those, I'd want full range of motion of my scaps. But here, I'm just letting them flow freely, focusing on moving my elbow. That's it. All right. Gotta find something to put my knee on. A foam pad or something. Ah.